Good morning, children. Now, the respiratory system in human beings involves respiratory organs. So, which are the respiratory organs that you come across in the human being? We find that it has a pair of nostrils, number one, okay, and then from there it passes through uh, the windpipe, which is referred to, which is passing through the throat, and then this particular windpipe will end up into two bronchi, okay, and the bronchi will terminate into two sac-like structures, elastic sac-like structure, which are called the lungs, and within the lungs the bronchi will further branch out and have terminating ends which are supported by small air sacs which are called alveoli. Clear? So with the help of the figure, let us try to understand it in detail. Now, this is the figure of your respiratory system. Okay. So in the respiratory system, as I told you, the very first point which you have is a pair of nostrils. Nostrils are the dot which you find over here. Okay. I'll just utilize another color which would be different. Okay. So this particular point is the nostril. Correct? So now, in this particular nostril part of it, pair of nostrils are there. From the nostrils, you take in air which passes through the nasal passage. Clear? The nasal passage, from there, through the nostril, the air is taken in through into the nasal passage, and through the mouth cavity also the air moves in, and together it enters into this region. This region is called the pharynx region. Okay, this part is the pharynx. Now, from the pharynx, it passes into the larynx. Larynx is the voice box. You are able to speak because the air passes through the voice box and there are vocal cords inside. It is a movement of these cords, the vibration of these cords, along with the movement of the tongue in your mouth, which is helping you to speak or utter different letters. Is that point clear? So, speech is because of the air which is passing through the vocal cords by the movement of the vocal cords in the larynx. That is called the voice box. Now, it is followed by the tube which is called the trachea. This trachea, if you can see very clearly, is provided by C-shaped structures like this. Am I correct? Now, why these C-shaped structures are there? They are cartilage. If you can feel it in your throat region, they are cartilaginous. They are not hard bones. They are soft. They are cartilage because so that the windpipe, that is the trachea, may not collapse, because it's actually a tube through which the air moves in and out. So when the air moves out, there will be a suction created, due to which there is a possibility that the wall might collapse. And it is internally lined by mucus. So when it collapses, then due to the mucous membrane, it might stick to each other. That can cause problem for the next set of air which is going to move in. So to prevent this problem, the C-shaped cartilage is kept so that they may not collapse. Is that clear? Now, this particular trachea in the chest region will bifurcate into bronchi. These are the bronchi. Bronchus is singular, bronchi is plural. The bronchi further branches out into these small, fine, tiny branches. Can you see? They are called the bronchioles. Here it has been shown. This is the bronchi and this is the bronchiole. Each bronchiole then finally terminates into, this is the enlarged view of the alveoli. They are the air sacs. Clear? This entire arrangement is within the spongy tissue. This is called the lung portion. But this lung is protected by the rib cage. Externally, it is protected by this rib cage. Is that point clear? In your chest cavity. Fine. So, there is another structure which is very important called the diaphragm. This particular region is the diaphragm. A flat region which, when you are taking in air, it flattens down. Okay. Now, taking in air is not your ability. Understand it. It is the movement of these muscles. These are the muscles in between the ribs are called the intercostal muscles. The muscles which are present over here, they will contract, and this particular diaphragm will flatten down, due to which what will happen? The space inside will increase. Okay, the space inside will increase. I'll just explain it once again. The diaphragm will flatten down, this intercostal muscles will move towards the outer side, due to which what will happen? The internal space over here in this region increases. Since the internal space increases, the pressure inside decreases. Due to the decreased pressure, the air, where the air which was shown earlier, isn't it? The air in the previous case, that is from the nose, through the nose, the air will start moving in. Why? The pressure has decreased inside. Volume has increased. Thoracic volume has increased, so pressure decreases, so air moves in. Correct? Now, contrary to that, what will happen after some time? The muscles which has been contracted, this contracted muscle will now move upwards and it will go back to its original condition. And the intercostal muscles will also come back to its original condition. So what will happen over here in this particular region? Yeah, the air cavity or the thoracic cavity reduces, so pressure inside increases. When the pressure inside increases, what will happen? The air which has entered earlier now will come out. Is that point clear? So your breathing in and breathing out is not because you are taking in air and you are blowing it out. It is because of the movement of the intercostal muscles, which are along with the ribs as well as the diaphragm movement. That helps in taking in the breath and taking it out. That phenomenon of inhaling and exhaling is called the breathing mechanism. You know what the alveoli surface is about? The alveoli surface, in your book, it's very clearly telling you. It spreads about 80 meter square. It is equal to a football field. Do you know that? If you cut out all the alveoli and spread it out, it can cover up a football field. So such a large area is provided by vascular bundles. That is, so here if I try to explain it once again, a revision sort of it, here you find that the human beings, the air passes through the nostrils, which is then filtered by the hair. You know that nostrils are provided by hair, so that it not only traps the suspended particles but also makes the air warm and suitable to the body temperature. It is also provided by mucus. If there is infection of this particular layer, the mucus starts coming out. That is during the cold, isn't it? You suffer from severe cold, then the mucus starts dripping through your nose. So this mucus also helps in trapping the suspended particles. As it passes through the throat region, that is the trachea is there, which is lined by the rings of cartilage. C-shaped cartilages are there so that the air passage may not collapse. This is what I told you earlier. Okay. Now, within the lungs, what will happen? The passage will further divide into small tubes, which are called the passage. Means which passage? The trachea. Trachea divides into bronchi, and the bronchi will further terminate into bronchioles, into a small balloon-like structure called the alveoli. The alveoli is a region which is providing maximum exchange of gases. Remember in the previous video I told you that the surface which is involved in gaseous exchange should be moist, should be thin, should be delicate, and should be vascularized. So alveoli actually has all these characteristics, due to which the exchange takes place over here in the alveoli section. Clear? Here it is mentioned that as you lift your ribs, means ribs move toward the outer side and the diaphragm flattens, the chest cavity enlarges. Because of this, what will happen? The air is sucked in, taken in. I drew and show it to you, isn't it? That leads to expansion of the alveoli. So the blood, which is rich in carbon dioxide present in the alveoli, will move into the blood, and the oxygen which is rich in the blood will enter into the alveoli. So the exchange takes place. Here it is mentioned that the blood brings carbon dioxide from the rest of the body and is released into the alveoli, and the oxygen in the alveoli air is taken up by the blood, and then it is circulated throughout your body. Clear? So when the air in means, always what happens when you are breathing, we generally feel as you are emptying the lung, but actually during the breathing cycle means what? You breathe in and then you exhale out, that is one cycle. When air is taken in and let out, that is one cycle. The lung has always some residual volume of air. Residual volume of air means your lung is never completely squeezed out of air. Still some amount of air is left in behind. So this residual volume of air will ensure that there is sufficient amount of oxygen which is absorbed and carbon dioxide is released. Is that point clear? पूरा खाली नहीं होता है. Your lung is never emptied completely. Now, when the size of the body increases, for example, in case of larger animals, okay, the diffusion pressure alone will not work. So therefore, there should be an additional help. That additional help is said to be the respiratory pigment hemoglobin. So respiratory pigment hemoglobin in the blood helps in picking up the oxygen from the alveoli region. Is that point clear? The oxygen which is present in the alveoli, from there it is picked up by the hemoglobin, because hemoglobin has an affinity. Affinity means attraction towards oxygen. Is that point clear? And carbon dioxide is more soluble in water than oxygen, and hence it can be transported in the dissolved form in our blood. Is that clear? So in the do you know section, it is given to you that your alveolar surface covers about 80 meter square area. Is that point clear? So the diffusion takes place more effectively. Understood? Now the questions which are given over here, let us quickly discuss these questions. I will then in separate video, I'll put up the answers if you answers also. Is that point clear? So it will be easy for you to write down these answers. Clear? Okay. Now, what is the first question given to you? What is the advantage over an aquatic organism does this terrestrial one have when it is to obtain oxygen for respiration? Just now, if you remember, while discussing this, I already explained it to you in the previous video that the oxygen which is dissolved in the water is at a lesser rate, and hence aquatic organisms will have to make more effort. So their respiratory rate will be higher than the terrestrial animal. That is the answer to the first question. Second question is, what are the different ways in which glucose is oxidized to provide energy? So glucose is oxidized in two different ways. Complete oxidation, that is in aerobic, and in that the end products are carbon dioxide and water. So glucose converts into carbon dioxide and water aerobically. And in inaerobic respiration, that is the incomplete form of combustion. In that, the glucose is broken down into ethanol, carbon dioxide, and energy. That is in case of the plant cell. And if it is the muscle cell, it will be lactic acid and energy. Is that clear? Okay. Next question is, how is oxygen and carbon dioxide transported in the human beings? Just now I explained it to you. Oxygen and carbon dioxide are transported by the oxygen, when you are inhaling, the oxygen rich air reaches the alveoli, and from there it is diffused into the bloodstream, because oxygen is high in alveoli and lesser in the blood. On the contrary, carbon dioxide, which is brought from different parts of the cell, different parts of the body, is brought to the alveoli. It is present in the blood around the alveoli. So carbon dioxide from the blood will diffuse into the alveoli, because in the alveoli the carbon dioxide level is lesser. So like that, diffusion takes place and then it is transported. And hemoglobin aids in the transportation of oxygen, whereas the solubility of carbon dioxide in water helps in transportation of carbon dioxide. Clear? Now, how are the lungs designed in human beings to maximize the area for exchange of gases? The bronchi branches out into bronchioles, smaller branches, and at the end of the bronchioles there will be alveoli. These alveoli are small, very small structures which are having thin walls. It is capable of distension, means it is capable of expanding, due to which the membrane can become as thin as possible. It is moist, it is vascularized. This helps in the effective exchange of gases. Clear? Maximum area is made possible for effective exchange of gases. Clear till here? Here we finish the respiration topic.